Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another reaction, and the video we're watching is things aren't looking great for the UK. We're in the mud right now, the pound is down and we're just in the mud. But because I live in like a bubble kind of, I don't really know the full extent of what's going on because I don't go to work and have like conversations with your colleagues, or I don't watch the news. I see bits on Twitter and I see it's not looking good, but yeah, we're gonna, I guess, see it in this video. It probably isn't gonna give everything that's happening, but I first sort of started hearing about this when I was in Romania. My girlfriend's dad, he loves just looking at the dark things or the just everything in the world, but he'll just say and speak about it. And even though I'm there, like I don't really care about listening to this, he would also just talk about how the pound is falling and stuff, and it is, to be honest. And I don't know. I remember looking a few months back, and the pound was always like a big difference between the pound and the euro, or no, the pound and the dollar, and it's like the same now, which is crazy to see how it's fallen so much in such a short space of time. But yeah, we're gonna check this video out and see what it talks about, and yeah, let's just jump into this. Hopefully, going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon if you want to see some more videos of mine, or you want to suggest me some videos to watch. But let's see why the UK is in the mud.
The British pound hitting an all-time low today against the dollar. £1 equaling about $1.03. It's now back up to like $1.07.
Hi, welcome.
What is it right now? Let me just see. Dollar to pound. Wait, what? Well, no, so £1 then. Let's see, £1. Is it up a little bit more from what it was then? 114. Bro, it jumps up and down so much. I might need to get into some like investing. What's it called when people invest in pounds into the pound? Like, so they'll swap it into the dollar. So say it drops down to when it was 1.03, you invested there into the pound. Yeah, you invest into the pound and then you sell it when it goes up. What's that kind of investing called? Because I mean, this looks like it's a decent time. There's probably a lot of people doing that right now, but I don't really know how it works. I'm just wishing I knew how to do it, but I don't.
Welcome to another episode of Cold Fusion. Last week, the world witnessed one of the most troubling financial situations in quite some time. The UK's pound, the fourth most traded currency in the world, had declined more than 5% in one day, essentially reaching parity with the US dollar. Imagine losing 5% of your savings overnight.
I think it's to do with our new Prime Minister, isn't it? Oh, she's a bit of a weirdo. I mean, I don't keep up with it because I just can't be asked. But I think there's something that she announced and it caused a massive drop.
This was the lowest point that the UK currency had ever reached in its history. The crash threatened to blow up almost 50% of the nation's private pension savings, only to be averted just at the last second. So what happened? In this episode, we'll take a look.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
Damn, this is going to be an interesting watch, man.
To get the full picture, we must go back a few months. During that time, the United Kingdom started facing a cost of living crisis. Energy prices in Europe were rising due to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Inflation reached 10% in August, the highest level in 40 years.
So the highest level of inflation, and the pound is at its lowest point in its history. Now, what are the chances of that happening? It's an absolute mess,
Amongst this backdrop, the newly elected government, headed by the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss, unveiled two policies that played a key role in the events of last week.
So stupid, bro. I don't know if this is one of the policies, but I know they announced that they were going to get rid of the 45% tax, which is the tax for the highest earners, pretty much. They announced that they were going to do that, which is kind of crazy. Why are you looking to get rich people, like allow them to keep more of their money, but then the poor people, you're looking to make their cost of living more? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's just ridiculous. It drives me crazy, and it actually makes my head hot thinking about it. But I don't know if this is going to be one of the policies. Maybe there's two other policies that are even worse. We're going to see here. Because again, I don't look into this stuff. I just see things here and there. But yeah, we're going to see what she announced, or what they announced.
The first policy, announced on September 8th, was the Energy Price Guarantee. The aim was for the government to cap energy expenses for the average family at around £2,500 per year for the next 2 years. Supposedly, this would be a saving of £1,000 per year. The scheme is poised to cost £100 billion during the first year. Without having the budget to sustain such costs, the policy will be financed exclusively by government debt in the form of bond issuance, which you guessed it, is inflationary. The second policy was announced on September 23rd by Kwasi Kwarteng, the new finance minister. It was supposed to be a historic tax cut plan, both for individuals and companies. The intention was to alleviate pressure and give the economy a boost, ensuring steady growth. This policy was going to be funded by government borrowing, and this was going to cost an additional £45 billion. But despite the noble intention of protecting those who are more impoverished, the policy was heavily criticised. As some research points out, the rich were going to benefit 2 times more than the poor. The international market looked at this, and it drove them into a panic. The thinking was, all of these schemes are just going to increase inflation, basically causing more problems than they solve. It led to a lack of faith in the UK currency. All of this leads to September 26th and the famous decline in the value of the UK pound.
Wow. It's crazy, after 2 announcements, you can literally fucking mess your economy up that much. It's ridiculous.
There was a negative response and much skepticism over the effects of these new policies and their effects on the UK economy. This all led investors to sell their Great British Pound denominated assets. The result was a large decline in the value of the British pound as it was exchanged for other, quote, safer currencies. As the markets turned red, certain financial institutions weren't prepared to handle such a large decline in value. This was the case for the majority of pension funds in the UK. In total, they held almost half of the private savings in the country. The problem originated from a niche financial product that investment banks offered to pension funds. These products involve leverage, which amplifies losses, and this leverage also required collateral, and a large part of the collateral was held in UK national bonds. As asset prices started to decline due to the previously mentioned policy announcements, the banks began to ask for more collateral. This forced pension funds to sell some of their assets to meet the obligations. Soon, the market was full of pension funds looking to sell their government bonds as they attempted to meet their new collateral requirements. With little demand and a lot of supply, the prices started to nosedive, putting the entire financial system in distress. It was the start of a doom cycle, and if it completely blew up, almost 50% of private savings in the UK would have been decimated.
But a crisis in Britain's pension system is a crisis for the whole financial system.
Pension funds were suddenly faced with the need to raise collateral, money that they needed to pay the companies that they had taken out contracts with on an immediate basis. So they were actually adding to the vicious spiral by selling gilts in the market as well, which then made prices go even lower.
Very soon after the chaos began, the Central Bank of England was forced to step in. They did so by promising to purchase $65 billion worth of government bonds over 13 days. This essentially put a floor on the prices of UK bonds. As a result, they were able to stabilise the bond market and prevent a doom cycle. This is where supply exceeds demand by so much that the prices go to zero and assets become illiquid. As crazy as this sounds, very possibly the UK economy narrowly avoided crashing in the fashion of a third world nation.
A warning from the IMF. Central bank
That's crazy, bro. This person's been in charge for what, a month and a half, I think? Maybe a little bit longer. I don't know, I think it's like a month and a half. And she's already done this. Flipping hell, man. That's crazy.
Disorderly currency movements.
You would expect the combination you just cited to appear in a struggling developing country with weak institutions.
So, with the help of the Bank of England, the crash seems to be averted for now. As of the production of this video, the British pound has recovered to its previous levels, and the bond market slowly stabilised. But with that being said, the UK economy isn't out of the woods yet.
A currency plunge followed by a mortgage spike, and now a threat to the very plumbing that sits beneath our economy. What happens next is anyone's guess.
Inflation rages on, and there's still an air of encouraging businesses and individuals to spend more, pushing up demand, adding to inflation. As a result, imports will be more expensive and energy costs will rise.
Yep.
There's also an escalating fear that inflation would make the Bank of England raise interest rates even further. In fact, Andrew Bailey, the governor of the central bank, affirmed that they will, quote, not hesitate increasing rates by as much as needed. This will in turn make borrowing more difficult for businesses as well as regular people. The mortgage market is familiar with this pain. Since the whole debacle, mortgage lenders have withdrawn 40% of their new and available mortgages from the market, while at least 20 providers have extended their fixed-rate programs. For the new buyers, this has made purchasing a home virtually impossible, while existing homeowners with fixed-rate products, remortgaging could double their interest payments, adding more than £2,000 a year to annual expenses.
What?
In the
It's
UK,
already impossible to buy a house in the UK. What the hell are they trying to do, man?
40% of all mortgage dollars are interest-only ARMs that will reset in January to around 4%. 40%. Can you imagine how upside down the UK economy is going to be when people have to spend 3 and 4 times more to keep their home?
As for the UK government, they've panicked and already reversed the tax cut policy. Admitting failure after all of this commotion and after just being sworn in is a terrible look for the current administration.
The panicked price spike in the UK bond market has also cooled, so is the worst over? No. Markets are calmed for now by the Bank of England's £65 billion band-aid and a report that Prime Minister Liz Truss will consult more widely on her bonkers plan to borrow money to cut taxes for the rich. But the market's desperate.
So ridiculous. Borrow money to cut taxes for the rich. What is going on? How like crazy are these people that you've got these absolute cretins in charge? It just hearing that phrase, borrowing. Oh, let me just remember what it was. Borrowing money to stop the rich getting taxed. It just
Band-aid
crazy.
And a report that Prime Minister Liz Truss will consult more widely on her bonkers plan to borrow money to cut taxes for the rich. But the market's desperately hoping that the lady is for turning. Meanwhile, so much money is flowing out of the London Stock Exchange, the FTSE is again getting close to losing its position as Europe's biggest stock market to France.
Damn.
So it's not just the UK that's in trouble. There's a lot going on in the financial world right now, and I do want to make episodes on a lot of these, but I'll summarise it here. To start, 2 major financial institutions are in trouble, Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank, and their stock prices have recently fallen by 40%. These are international systemic banks with $2.7 trillion in assets between them. These institutions are linked to other critically global financial institutions, so if they give out, many experts say that it might be another 2008 Lehman Brothers event. But at this point, nobody can be sure. It just looks risky. China is also having issues. Their currency has fallen, and
China? I was not expecting that. I thought China were loving this, bro. I thought they were just off into the flipping sunset whilst the rest of the world is burning alive.
property market is shaky. Zero COVID policies are reducing economic output and causing pockets of civil unrest, and there's much, much more. Globally, interest rates are rising, putting strain on the massive amounts of debt held by nations, companies, and individuals. Investors are getting scared and running into the US dollar for safety, causing it to rise and become a wrecking ball, decimating the relative value of other currencies. And because the US dollar is the reserve currency, pretty much all other countries need it to pay for basically anything. So it's a major problem. If things get bad enough, other central banks may reverse course, just like the Bank of England.
US getting rich, baby, while the rest of us rot. That's crazy though. Because I guess the pound is dropping, but the dollar is also rising, which is why it seems so much closer than it would be. But I've always wondered why the pound was always higher than the dollar anyway. I don't get it. Like, you see the US as the country it is. I would have always assumed it would be the most expensive. Why is it not the most, or not the most expensive, the most powerful currency? Isn't it like the Kuwait dollar, the Kuwait cent, or whatever you want to call it, the Kuwait dime? Isn't that the most powerful one? Why? I guess because it's such a small country and it's so rich. But I don't get currencies why the pound was always higher than the dollar and the euro.
They'll lower rates again and print more money. It could stave off a possible depression, but at the sacrifice of all of our currencies. Alright, so that's a lot, so I'll stop cramming in the info here. But to wrap it up, back to the topic of this video, I'd like to hear from those in the UK. What are the conversations like among your friends and family? What does everyone think about the government's mishap? I'm very interested to see your comments.
This is what I mean, man. I live a very, I say sheltered life. That's not right, because that would be like I don't live and experience the pains and stuff. But like, I work from home. The only real time I see people is if I go to the gym or I go football, or I occasionally go out clubbing or whatever. But I've not gone clubbing since I've been back. And when I see my friends at the gym, I don't go talk about politics. I just enjoy myself, bro. So I don't really see my family. My mum doesn't care about politics. My dad does, but I rarely see him. So I don't have anyone to talk to it about. And I don't really care that much. But when you see stuff like this, it does make you want to chat about it. And again, I knew about the cuts and stuff, but I didn't know they were borrowing money then to help them sort of fund the money to cut the tax for the rich. It's crazy out there, man. It's actually crazy out here. But yeah, the UK is a mess right now, and it's all thanks to the new government. You love to see it.
If you want to see another financial video,
this is a good video though. I enjoyed this. I mean, I just don't enjoy it because it's the future for me, but it was it was a well put together video, and I'm definitely down to see more reactions. Down to see more videos from this channel, do some more reactions to it. The main issue with what the government did was not to do with helping UK homes with their bills. The markets were perfectly okay with this, hence the value in the pound not really changing at all after the 8th of September announcement. That's a lot of reading, man. The main issue came from the September 23rd mini budget, which had 3 major things that caused the economic market to lose faith in the pound British government. So the Kwasi Kwarteng. So he became Chancellor. Yeah, I'm not reading that, bro. But it's interesting to know. I'm a software engineer in England, and even my colleagues have expressed concern. Can't imagine how rough it must be for low-income households. Bro, it's crazy. And they're the ones that are going to feel the effects of it, and yet they're the one also having to pay more for it. You're getting the rich who have already got money. You're giving them more leniency to just keep more of their money, whilst you're just borrowing money for us to then pay back in years to come. It's just crazy. Bro, I just hate people. Like, you've got these, like, she's someone who's probably lived a very sheltered life. She's rich. I mean, she's now the Prime Minister of the UK. But she was a politician. She is a politician. They have crazy money anyway. They get paid way more than they should do. And then they're making these decisions. Well, of course you are. You're going to tax yourself less. And you're also not actually understanding what it's like to live like the majority of people do. Like week to week, month to, like you have a week to week paycheck or whatever. And you're just there making these stupid rules. But yeah, this is a calm way to tell me that I'm fucked, you know? Let's see some more videos that this channel does. The story of Spotify. Yeah, I need to check this channel out. It's got some interesting videos. It does everything. Yeah, bro, I'm definitely going to check more of the channels from this video. And I'm subscribed. I don't know what videos I've seen before, but I'm subscribed. So I've definitely seen some. Just don't know what. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. And yeah, we're in the mud. But until next time, like, subscribe, and peace.